Oh, I never thought I'd find myself in a situation that would make me write about it online, but here I am, totally confused and unsure of what to do. I really need your opinion. I can't tell if I'm a victim of circumstance or if I messed everything up myself. I guess I'll start from the very beginning so you understand how it all went down. My name is Stephanie. I'm 21. I live in a small town, your typical American backwater where everyone knows everyone else, and your mistakes spread around faster than flyers for a weekend sale. Here, you're either a hero or a villain, no middle ground. Right after I finished high school, I went through that rebellious phase like many do. I thought life was all fun and games, parties, and whatnot. And that's when Derek showed up in my life. He was a couple of years older, and to be honest, at the time, he seemed like the perfect guy for carefree days and nights. Handsome, charismatic, the life of the party. He was exactly the kind of guy all the girls flocked to. Somehow, though, he chose me. We started dating, and things escalated quickly. We were that couple that always showed up together at parties, clubs, alcohol, endless get-togethers. That became our life. Derek knew how to make you feel truly alive, though sometimes I wondered what kind of life it was, if you could barely remember what happened the night before. But back then, I felt that was how it was supposed to be. On top of that, I had problems at home. My dad, strict, very principled, wouldn't stop telling me I was throwing my life away. And at some point, his words started to hit me. I got tired of everything. Parties, drinking, that blurry feeling of day and night merging together. One day, I just looked at myself in the mirror and realized I don't like the girl I see anymore. I decided to go to college. Of course, I had help from my parents. They agreed to pay for my education. It wasn't easy. I was scared to tell Derek because I knew he wouldn't understand. And that's exactly what happened. When I told him I wanted to change something in my life, he pretty much exploded. At first, he laughed it off, calling it a dumb phase. Then the remarks got more cutting. You think you're better than us now? You're not the same person I started dating. He kept telling me, come back, forget this stuff, let's party like before. I tried to explain that I wasn't into that anymore, that I wanted something more, but he refused to listen. Over time, he started pulling away. First it was missed dates, then he just stopped inviting me anywhere. He claimed I had gotten boring and that I was annoying with all my morals. I knew he was dragging me down, but for some reason, I just couldn't let go. I thought I loved him. That was probably my biggest self-delusion. I clung to our relationship even when it was falling apart. Then it got weird. Derek just vanished. He stopped calling, stopped texting. I didn't hear a word from him for months. At first, I was worried, tried to reach out. But then it dawned on me that this might be the end. Neither of us said it out loud, but sometimes words aren't necessary, right? 3 months went by, and I just decided it was over. Eventually, I met someone else. He was so sweet, respectful, the complete opposite of Derek. We started dating, and honestly, for the first time, I felt happy. He listened to me, respected my choices. It felt like I was finally on the right path. But here's what happened a few days ago. Out of nowhere, Derek shows up at my apartment door. I was stunned. He starts yelling, accusing me of cheating. Said that a friend of his saw me with my new boyfriend and showed him pictures of us kissing. He made a huge scene, and I just stood there, not understanding what was going on. Then he left, and a couple of hours later I found out he'd posted all this on social media. He wrote a ton of nasty stuff about me, calling me an unfaithful jerk, and so on. Some of my friends started looking at me differently. One of them, without getting too emotional, said maybe I wasn't totally innocent. Like, I should have made things clear and officially ended it. Honestly, it made me think. Maybe he's right. Maybe I did mess up somewhere along the line. But so much time had passed. Wasn't it obvious we weren't together anymore? Right now I'm confused. My new boyfriend seems to understand, but I feel like we need to talk. Our relationship is just starting, and I don't want my past haunting us. But I can't help feeling like I'm the bad guy here. Maybe I really am? What do you think? Did I do something wrong? Or is it just someone who can't accept that we're done? How do I fix this?
I lived with this woman for 2 years, 2 whole years that I can now only call wasted time. Yes, it was a lesson, a bitter and painful one, but a lesson nonetheless. I feel compelled to share this experience. Maybe someone will read it and recognize themselves or their situation in time to stop. I'll start by saying that I was 32 when I met her. Single, tired of random dates and unrequited crushes, I had already stopped believing I could have a normal relationship. It felt like everyone around me was finding a partner, starting families, while I was left on the sidelines. And then she appeared, Karen. I thought maybe fate had finally smiled on me. Karen was vibrant, beautiful, and confident. She was 29 and had a 3-year-old son from a previous marriage. She told me right away that she was looking for a serious relationship, that she needed a reliable man who would become part of her family. To me, that sounded right, mature. I was ready for the responsibility, ready to love her son and care for him as my own. We moved in together 6 months after we met. She quickly brought over her things, and to be honest, at the time, I was overjoyed. Life suddenly had new meaning. I drove her son to daycare, picked him up, played with him while Karen was at work. I really believed she was the one, the person I wanted to spend my life with. But soon, I started noticing odd behaviors. You ever see how some people lie even when there's no reason to? Karen was one of those people. She could lie about nothing at all. For example, she'd be on the phone and tell someone she was cooking dinner, even though she was really just sitting on the couch watching TV. When I asked why she said that, she'd laugh and say, "Oh, just because." At first, I thought these were harmless quirks. Every couple has its little weirdnesses. But the further things went, the more I realized she didn't just lie to other people. She lied to me too. And she did it so easily that I began to doubt whether I really knew who she was. One time, I noticed she started spending a lot of time on her phone. In the evening when we were sitting together, she'd constantly be replying to messages, smiling, but never showing me who she was texting. If I asked, she'd say something like, "It's just a friend," or "It's about work." Then came her get-togethers with friends. Karen loved having girls' nights, and like a naive fool, I saw nothing wrong with that. While she went out, I stayed home with her son. I'd put him to bed, read him stories while she was off. As I later found out, definitely not with friends. Her birthday was the turning point. She said she wanted to spend it with her girlfriends, and I suggested staying in, ordering some food, having a cozy evening. She insisted she needed a break from the routine, so I stayed at home with her son. He was 4 at the time. He had grown to love me, and I loved him. We watched cartoons, I tucked him in, and then I just waited for her to come home. But she didn't come back until the next morning, happy, cheerful, as though she just had the best birthday of her life. She didn't even bother making excuses. She simply said, "Thanks for watching my son." And that's when I knew. It turned out she'd been seeing some guy behind my back, spending her birthday with him. And the worst part was, it wasn't exactly a surprise. She'd given me reasons to suspect something before, but I stubbornly turned a blind eye. I thought, well, none of us is perfect. The important thing is she comes home. When I finally learned the truth, Karen just turned her phone off and disappeared from our lives for a while. I was devastated. Her son kept asking where his mom was, why she wasn't coming home. I didn't know what to tell him. I understood then that she'd been using me, that I was just someone convenient, a babysitter, a driver, a person who took care of her everyday needs while she searched for someone better. In the end, she left me for the man she'd spent her birthday with, and a year later, as far as I know, he did the same thing to her. Life has a way of evening the score. But here's what haunts me. Why did I put up with it? Why did I keep ignoring her lies and the obvious signs that I was being used? Now, looking back, I feel like I was blind, hypnotized by her beauty and charisma. I'm writing all this to ask, how do you spot people like that early on? How do you stop being so convenient that you end up letting someone walk all over you? Have you ever been in a relationship like this? How did you get out of it?